MVP talk from the MVPs, man. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run through this real quick because we got to finish before Shaq ends the meeting. But I thought this would be a good topic for us. And Jen, remember that? I thought this would be a great topic for us in terms of how to build. Take the video. About how to build a big team. Right? This is why I came into Primerica. My very first event, Shaq invited me to an event that was in Pennsylvania. I didn't know what we did in the business. I had no exposure to the company. He said, do me a favor. I think it was like a 4-hour drive to Lancaster, 2.5, whatever it was. And we had to leave at 6 in the morning. And we got there, and halfway through the event, I started to figure out what was going on. And I'll never forget, there was a guy, and he stood up. I mean, we're in a huge auditorium. And this guy stood up on a chair, and he was addressing his team. And there was maybe 40, 50 people that he was addressing. And I could tell that whole section was his. And I told myself, I said, one day I want to have a team that big, right? And that was kind of a vision that I had implanted in my mind. So I want to talk about just a couple things that you can do to build a team. Number one, have a recruit-first mindset. I think what happens is a lot of times people come in here, and it's our fault. They're only following our instructions. We talk about the money. We talk about making money part-time, because obviously that's the easiest bait to throw out there. Do you want to make $2,000, $3,000 a month part-time? That's a lot of money for a lot of people. But we're not talking enough about how you can be a business owner, how you can be on top of an organization, how you can have passive income, how you can be a leader, right? To have a recruit-first mindset means that when you meet someone, that's the first thing that you're thinking about. I'll never forget this. I was making maybe, $100 grand in Primerica, and I was talking to one of my friends in the company who was making, I think at that time he was making $400,000. And he had an appointment the night before, and I said, I was visiting him in a different state. I said, how was your appointment? And he said, oh, it was really good. It was a dentist. And I said, oh, that's going to be a big client. And he said, well, most of the time I just talked about recruiting him. I was like, what? Because I'm at 100 grand. I would never think to recruit a dentist. Because that's above my lid, right? That's above my thinking in terms of how I was thinking at that time. And he said, look, I'm making 400 grand. If I get him as a client, yeah, I make a few $1,000s. That's not going to move the needle on my income. If I recruit a dentist, imagine how many people they know, the type of influence that they have. That would move the needle on my income, recruiting the person, not getting them as a client, right? Now, if through me recruiting him, I kind of turn him off and I lose him, okay. But I would rather take the chance of recruiting that person than selling that person. And that was really eye-opening for me. It was a conversation that I never forgot. And that is when I realized this is what a recruit-first mindset is. The people who have a recruit-first mindset, the main metric in their business or metrics is recruiting, licensing, people coming to a meeting. That is when you have a recruit-first mindset. And I promise you, it's very difficult to build a big team when you have a recruit second and third mindset. It's really, really difficult, right? Because recruiting is one of the things you have to overdo to kind of gain traction. Next, prospect everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you got to learn to prospect. I'm not saying that you got to be like these guys and take 5 hours a day and go out and talk to people. That's what they're doing. But can you prospect as you go? Everywhere you go, there are awesome people walking around. Tanya Poe, millionaire in the company, she said, I was in a Target parking lot, somebody walked up to me. People get recruited. Eric DeBell, he was working at a shoe store, a manager at a shoe store, someone prospected him. He's at $700,000 in income, right? People are all over the place. You hear all the stories here of where people got prospected, where someone walked up to somebody, right? Richard Kessinger said, your son was, I think, pushing carts at a grocery store, and that's how we recruited you. This guy's run multi-million-dollar businesses because we recruited the 18-year-old son, right? So that's everywhere you go. You got to learn a couple of good questions. Hey, can you help me out for a second? We just opened up a new location. We're looking for people, full-time, part-time. Are you keeping your options open? If the money were right, would you consider a change? Hey, are you going to retire with this company? You got to learn these questions. You got to constantly be doing that. That's what's on your mind everywhere you go. I promise, if you make that part of your identity to be a recruiter and to be a prospector, there's no way you will ever not have guests in the meeting. Not have new licensed people. Not have stories like these guys are telling. I mean, how much fun are they having? Not just from saying, oh, I got all this production, but introducing their people and saying, this person's getting promoted. We just met this person last month and now they're having an amazing impact on our business this month. And they get to celebrate together and set goals together. That's how you become a big recruiter. Next, study people skills, leadership, study it. You know how you studied all that stuff in school that a lot of times we don't use? Right? How about you study something that's going to help you grow? People skills, leadership. You know what I learned? A superpower that I had, because I'm not great at making conversation and walking up to people. I don't have that type of personality. Like I said, I'm introverted. I learned with people skills that, you know what? I don't have to be the one talking. I can be a good listener. And I read that in a book. They said that's a superpower. And I started to realize that if I just ask people questions and I actually listen to them and I don't interrupt them and I let them talk as long as they want, they're going to like me even though I didn't say anything. And that works for me. That's how I build relationships with people. I'm a good listener, but I had to read that, right? Studying leadership. If you want to build your attendance, this is something that you need to study. Get the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Just look up John Maxwell, read every one of his books, study it, right? From his book, Law of the Lid. That taught me, why am I not recruiting good people early on? Because I wasn't good. I wasn't effective. I wasn't a leader. On a scale of 1 to 10, if I'm a 2, I'm only going to recruit ones. Guess what? Ones quit. Ones don't commit. Ones don't want to get better. Ones don't show up. When I became a 5, I could recruit 3s. 3s were a little bit better, right? As you get better, the people that you recruit are going to get better. Now, in Primerica, it's crazy. You can be a 2 and you can recruit a 10, but guess what? They're going to pass you, right? They're not going to want to be under you because they're brushing up against the lid, right? So you got to constantly grow so your people don't outgrow you, right? Factors that make a leader: character, who you are. Who you are. That's what I teach these guys. Like, let's not lie to each other. Let's not BS each other. Because people come into our environment, we want them to know that we're honest people with integrity, right? Character, who you are. Relationship, who you know. Who do you know? Are you constantly networking and meeting new people? Knowledge, what they know. Can people come to you? Do you have the answers? Experience, where you've been. You have to have a lot of experience to be a leader. And then ability, what you can do. I mean, come talk to me. I've knocked doors before. I've cold called before. I was telling Sheila's team on Tuesday, I've spoken at churches. Right? They bring me up right before the congregation ends and I do a little talk, 10 minutes, see if we can get clients that way. Introduce myself to the community. I've been a part of networking groups, all types of organizations. I have the ability to do a lot of things to get results. And that's why I consider myself a leader. Track and monitor attendance for every meeting, right? What you focus on grows. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. People think about building a team when they come here for 1 hour a week, right? But it's got to consume you. I'm talking about the people that want to get big. You got to, every single meeting. How many people did I have at the Monday meeting? How many people did I have at the Saturday meeting? You know what? When we don't track things, why do you think that is? If I don't want to step on that scale every morning or multiple times a day and I go 3 months without stepping on the scale, guess what I realize, right? I'm gaining weight. Some people don't want to step on the scale because you don't want to know what that number is. It's the same thing with attendance. You don't want to know what that number is. Now we're tracking our numbers in Reston. A lot of people didn't want to know what those numbers were. How many people came through the door? How many calls? How many booked interviews? How much time are you spending? And people start to realize that, man, the numbers I'm doing, the activity I'm doing, a part-timer could do that. But we don't know until we track, right? So you have to make sure you monitor your attendance. And last thing, duplicate your inviting skills. Right? If I only teach people about the products, that's great. Right? That's our crusade. But I have to teach people how to invite. How do you invite your friends? What's the direct approach? Hey, Paco, man, dude, me and you've always done things together. This is going to be awesome. Me and you are going to do together. You have to do this business. That's the indirect approach. That's the direct approach. The indirect approach is, hey, Paco, I just started working with a new company. I'm super excited. you know what, it's probably not even for you, but if you could just do me a favor and come, see what I do, maybe you can refer me to people. That's an indirect approach. Teaching people the difference. Going over the objections, right? If they say this, then you say that. If they say this, then you say that. Listen, teaching people how to invite people to the meeting, you can teach them how to do day one. Someone is not going to do a kitchen table presentation on the products day one. That takes a lot of time. Months sometimes. But day one, I can teach you next week to bring somebody back. And the way you get compound growth is people bringing people. You got to get that going for you, right? Now look, some people are sitting in the meeting and they're like, oh, is this one of those things? It sounds kind of weird. Hey dude, you're fighting the wrong fight. Right? Yes, that is what we do. That is how I got here. That's why I'm in front of the room, right? You need to stop fighting that fight and start to figure out why you're happier at a job making what you're making versus doing the weird stuff here and getting free.
Right.
Right? This is how it works. And the person who owns your company, they did something similar to this. Or they put a bunch of money in, right, that I didn't have at the time. I had to build my business. You can buy a business or you can build a business. I didn't have money to buy a business. Maybe you are, privileged in that sense where you can do that, and good for you. I had to build my business just like brick by brick. I built it person by person, one person at a time. And this is the thing about recruiting, man. You got to be really patient because sometimes it doesn't happen fast. If you think about Tuesday night in Ashburn, Tuesday night in Reston, Tuesday night in Alexandria, these are meetings that are getting built. Think about that word. We're not just coming to a meeting. See, people think they're coming to a meeting. We're building a meeting. Have you ever built anything? It is a pain in the ass. Have you ever got IKEA furniture and you have to build it? There's nothing more annoying. Now I pay someone. I don't care. What is it? Put up my TVs, put the furniture together. I'm not building it. Because building things is annoying. I know people that have $4, $5, $6, $10 million homes that they've had built. Every single one of them are in a lawsuit with the builder. Anisha and her mom, they're builders. They never finish with the same contract that they started with, right? It's contractor. Because halfway through they fire the person, someone else has to take over. It's like a normal thing. Building things are hard. It's difficult. But once you have that dream house, once you have that business built, right? Then it's a dream come true.
Yeah.
But you have to know what you're in for, man. We are building something that's solid, that's generational. But you got to focus on it, okay? So everyone, we, reminder, 2,500 to get to Daniel Chamorro's full-timer meeting that Friday when he comes into town. Don't miss that. I know you guys are going to be there. Get people on your team there. We'll have a lot of people there. Anything else?
Convention.
Convention. So now they're tracking convention registrations. How much is it to register for convention? $150?
For new people, $50.
For a new person, it's $50. For everybody else, it's $120, $150, whatever it is, $100. Make sure that you're registered. Get everybody there. We're not going to have a convention for 3 years after this. This is it, man. This is it. We got to get everybody there. Team on three. 1, 2, 3.